Let me see for. All right, I think we're live. Yep. Okay. All right. Good day, everyone, and welcome to our brand new LinkedIn Live event on the topic Build Your Brand How Recruiters Can Grow Real Influence Online. I'm Chavi, Content Manager at RecruitCRM, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. I'll mostly be behind the curtains with our expert for today taking the entire spotlight. So today we have Nitin Sharma with us. A quick intro of Nitin. Nitin is the founder of Rec Tools and the voice behind the popular podcast Rec Talk. With a passion for transforming the recruitment industry, Nitin has dedicated his career for improving the way recruitment professionals connect with talent and clients. He's also the co-founder of Rec Circle, a platform that's redefining the job board space by giving candidates more control. Today, he is here to share how recruiters can build real influence online as organically as possible. So, yeah, welcome, Nitin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, so I'll just go behind the curtains and over to you, Nitin.
All right, brilliant. Thank you. Um, guys, thank you for listening and sort of give me your time. Hopefully I'll give you guys some sort of value here. For context, I was a recruiter and a recruitment business owner for about nearly 10 years. I ran my recruitment business for about 7.5. We started as a two-person business. We grew it, scaled it, and ultimately failed it by making a range of stupid decisions. But you learn some lessons along the way, right? So one of the things that I've managed to kind of do in my time in recruitment is really build my personal brand. And I really don't like that term because I think it's overused and a bit of a cliche. But I really spent a lot of time focusing on kind of branding in terms of who I am and almost separating myself from the business that I worked for. A lot of recruiters and recruitment business owners spend their time kind of building and focusing on the recruitment business brand. But we all know the sort of the cliche, right? That people buy from people. I don't believe that's true. Otherwise, none of us would have any trouble whatsoever selling to anybody, right? But one thing I do believe very much so is that it's not people buy from people. It's that people buy from people like them or people buy from people they like. So the key to, in my eyes, the key to sort of the psychology behind sales is that you need to find the relatability factor or the likability factor with your prospects. And those prospects are both client and candidate, right? Because you need to be selling to both sides and both need to be buying into you as recruiters. So the first point we were going to talk about was the sort of how to turn your social media into kind of a magnet for clients and candidates. Now, there's the obvious, real straightforward stuff in that when I walk past a shop window, if I'm walking in a high street or a shopping mall, I want to be able to look in and know pretty quickly what these guys do, right? There's no point in me walking past a H&M and seeing, cutlery in the window because immediately I'm going to be like, oh, these guys sell cutlery. I always thought they sold clothes. If you think about any kind of high street brand, any sort of successful business, where on their website, be it kind of, their advertising and so on and so forth, most of them are very, very clear in what they do. I think that is all the more true for recruiters. It's not good enough just to have senior recruiter in whatever space on your LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn entire landing page or kind of homepage on your LinkedIn should make it abundantly clear what you do, what your specialism is, the types of candidates you work with, and the kinds of clients that you support. For the reason that that's the first impression they're going to get of you, and that first impression is really key. Turning your kind of social media platforms into a lead magnet is more than just LinkedIn as well, right? If we think about kind of where we spend a lot of our time outside of business, what social platforms we hang out in, most of the kind of people that we follow or engage with, we know what they do. Whether you're a car fanatic or if you're a wrestling fan or whether you're, into kind of makeup, we follow certain influencers, we follow certain brands, and they live and breathe this stuff. So I think there's got to be a key part of this is kind of continuity to you as a person, who you are, and the brand in which you're representing, right? Sometimes that's difficult. So I mean, I'm ex Michael Page, big corporate business. They were very, very strict on what you could and couldn't do on your personal profiles. I think the world has changed quite a bit since I was there, and I think now we all agree that people are looking for authenticity. So I'm not one of these that's going to sit here and say that your profile needs to look professional. I mean, I, I have that emoji on my name on my LinkedIn. Um, I've got emojis in my title. You know, I often will swear in posts and stuff. I will say things that are a little bit maybe close to the skin, and for some people. But again, I've not had an issue with that personally, right? Because I firmly believe that again, people buy from people like them, or people buy from people they like. All right. So I will always use my social media being LinkedIn in this scenario. You know, I'll use it to talk about kind of what I do as a business or what I did as a recruiter. You know, here's the things that I'm recruiting for. Here's some advice for clients. Here's some advice for candidates. Here's some market information. But I'll also sort of spend a lot of time talking about me in the kind of giving people a little peek into me outside of work. Again, looking for that relatability factor. So I had clients that would um, know me as the guy who, oh, you're always in the Lake District. Oh, you've got two children. Oh, you married your childhood sweetheart. That was all by design. People knew that because my content and my posts would be around that, so that I'm allowing people into my personal life. Because when you start blending that personal life into work life, people feel like they are either like you or can relate to you. Yeah, they like you or they are like you. One of the two. Um, Almost everyone I speak to says that business is very much difficult right now. But when they look at where the revenue has come from, a lot of it has come from recommendations, network referrals, and community. And community is really, really key, which was the second thing we were going to talk about. So, simple ways to build a loyal community around your brand. Well, find your tribe, and that's that's a bit of a cliche saying these days, right? But I have a real strict rule in my business and in kind of on all the things that I get involved in is that I don't work with dicks. More specifically, I don't work with people I don't like. I don't get on with. I don't see a connection or feel a connection with, because I feel that if you're constantly chasing revenue, you make decisions that are revenue focused and not right for you as a business or for you as a brand or culture. And that's where mistakes happen. And I can say that hand on heart, and I can say that with my chest out, because I made exactly those decisions when we were at the failing end of my recruitment business, where you start working with clients just because you need the revenue, or you start doing things and acting in a certain way to chase revenue and prioritize revenue. You know, at our peak as a recruitment business, we had, I would say, maybe 6 key accounts, and those 6 key accounts carried about 90% of the revenue that we made for the 3 years that we were growing and scaling. That was community. You know, we would go on client meetings, and I would walk through a head office function, and I'd look around and I could see banks of desks of people that I had placed over time, but I had placed, and I'd be saying hello to everybody and stopping and having a chat at first name basis. And the value of that is massive, because those who know you feel valued, but those who don't know you want to get to know you. And those who don't know you, that's the key, because they're your prospects. They're the clients that you want to be working with or you haven't yet placed with. And they're the candidates that you want to be placing maybe elsewhere, or, or supporting in some way. Those candidates are going to be the ones that recommend you. Those candidates are going to be the ones that refer their friends, their family to you. Now, we've all had examples, right, where family will say, "Oh, you're in recruitment. Can you help my neighbor get a job, or my dog walker get a job, or whatever?" And we've all had it where we've placed a candidate and they've got, "Oh, could you help this person get a job? This is my friend or my wife or my daughter or whatever." We also have had it where they then you look at it and go, "Ah, I can't help this person." That comes back to point number one. Like, you have got to make it abundantly clear what you do, right? If you are in a very specific niche, i.e., accountancy and finance, as an example, well, people around you need to know that. They need to understand that. And therefore, they're not going to bother you with, "Hey, I know you only do accountancy finance, but here's my, developer boyfriend. Could you help him get a job?" Well, no, I can't, because that's not what I do. Um, Loyalty and community is important, right? Because most of you who have made sort of a success over the last difficult 18 months, and we know it's been difficult. If you truly look at where that revenue has come from and where you can attribute that success to, um, I would bet my mortgage that a lot of it isn't going to be down to cold outreach and cold business development. Yes, you'll fill jobs doing spec work. Yes, you'll fill jobs doing cold BD. You'll fill more jobs and make more money and have invoices paid on time and not have any issues when you're dealing with people who are like you or like you. And that's the key. So, the ways to build that community around you, give value, right? I'm a big believer in just do things for free, or I say for free, and I use that term loosely, but do things of value. Give people being clients or candidates, give them value without the need or the expectation of a transaction at that point in time. So you've done a bit of research, you've spoken to a range of candidates, you've got something valuable. Don't don't do this the usual thing that everyone else does, which is hide it behind a paywall and say, "Hey, for X amount of money, you can have access to it," or even sign up and give us your email address and you can have access to this, because that always leaves a bitter taste in people's mouths. What people really do enjoy is when you are literally giving somebody something for the sake of, "Hey, I've done this. I think it's valuable. I think you'll find it valuable. Here it is. Have a look. See what you think." Because then you've got a reason to follow up. You've got a reason to call. Hey, we sent you that information. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was useful for you. Just wanted to get your thoughts. Open out a conversation. Is there anything else you want us to do for you? Is there any other bits of research? Listen, we are recruitment businesses that speak to hundreds of candidates a week. Is there something you want us to find out about the market sentiment, your competitors, whatever it might be, right? There's your brand loyalty piece building, because while everyone else is ringing them and saying, "Hey, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, are you hiring? Can I fill a vacancy with you today?" You're saying, we do recruitment. Of course, I want to know if you've got jobs on, but that's not what I'm calling. What I'm calling for is to provide a service, and a valuable service at that, to you. It's going to help you make strategic decisions so that when you are hiring, you don't think of the last person who called you. You think of the person who was there every single time, even when you weren't recruiting, to build that relationship and to build and to welcome you into their community. That's what people are looking for. I spend a lot of time. I'm very fortunate. I accept that I'm very fortunate that I get to spend a lot of time with some incredibly intelligent people on my podcast. And with that has opened up a lot of doors for me within the talent acquisition community. One thing we have to accept as recruiters is, unfortunately or fortunately, talent acquisition have a seat at the table. Talent acquisition have a decision-making capability and budgetary control. So you can no longer just go around their back. What they do want from you is, do you want value? Is there anything I can do for you to help build this relationship out and to bring you as part of my community? Because I'm part of, whatever community you work within. So we've got a question in here that I'll quickly answer. Do you find people are a bit skeptical when you offer them free value? In a world where everybody is black and white and you're the color red, yeah, absolutely. People will be a bit kind of, what's the catch here? And I think that's where the authenticity piece comes in, right? Because if you are that person that is constantly, and also this comes into, again, point one, right? Using your social media as a lead magnet. If you're openly on LinkedIn, creating content that's of value, and you're giving things away openly, and then you're calling people up and giving that value to them openly, and being very honest and saying, "Listen, I would love to work with you." So James, if I would say to you, "Listen, your business is fascinating to me. It's in my niche. We specialize in this area. I would love to work with you guys at some point. I'd love to do some recruitment with you, but I understand that you are going to have existing relationships and existing processes that I'm just not going to be able to push to a side in a day, 2 days, 5 days, a year. It will take time, and that's what this is. This is part of that process. This is part of me showing you what value we add as a recruitment agency, because what we're not doing is just chasing a fee. What I am doing is trying to carve out my niche in my specific area. That level of authenticity doesn't happen very often. It just doesn't happen. And in fact, I would argue the most honest people are being nowadays on a business development call is when they ask for their 30 seconds. And then after that, it's all back to the same old spiel. Um, Oh, thank you, Jane. I'm sorry, I was also reading whether it was a question or not. No. Then the last point that we were going to cover then was what it actually takes to be seen as a trusted expert. All of the above. People don't like being sold to. People don't like being sold to. No one likes being sold to, right? I did a big piece on psychology of sales. Some of the key sort of takeaways of that were that people make buying decisions on emotion. They then justify those emotion or that emotional decision to buy with the facts. So when you're then taught by sales trainers, or when you're taught by kind of the early 2000s sales training that we all did, where we go, tell them the feature, the advantages, the benefit, and fab this out for them. That's all bollocks. I buy a Mercedes because I want a Mercedes. It might be that it's a better insurance class than the car I've currently got. It's more economically reliable, or it's got NCAP safety features, or whatever it might be. The emotional decision was to buy the car that I wanted. I justified that decision to buy with the facts. It wasn't the other way around. I didn't go and go, right, I'm looking for the cheapest car to insure that gives me the most miles to gallon, and it's black because that's my favorite color. No, it's I like this car. Let me now convince myself that I do like it and I do want it. So when you look at that as a concept, to be trusted as a sort of as a trusted expert, or to be seen as a trusted expert, you've got to understand that that's how people buy. People buy based on who you are, right? Again, likability or relatability. That is it. That is the only thing that includes. There is no shortage of recruiters out there. There is no shortage of people who are able to do what we do for that client. So to be seen as a trusted expert, you've got to be very open and honest about what you're doing and who you are. The reason the pattern disruption 30 seconds or shall I hang up kind of call works is because you're disarming with honesty, right? Honesty is the key to all of this, because if something's not very good, and you say it's not very good. I used to tell my guys all the time, look, rather than send a shit shortlist, or rather than send 3 or 4 additional candidates just to make the shortlist look like a more comprehensive one, pick up the client, pick up the phone and just tell the client what's going on. I'm struggling. I don't know whether I've misinterpreted the brief. I don't know whether I didn't ask the right questions to you. I don't know whether I'm not asking the right questions to the client, to the candidates, but I'm really struggling to get buy-in on this job. And I need to have this conversation with you to figure out a way of moving forward. That's it. That will win you more clients than it will lose you clients. I've never had a client say to me, well, you sound incompetent, then I'll go to the other agency who promised me the earth and could deliver it all. Doesn't happen. What does happen is, I really appreciate that. Actually, yeah, maybe, do you know what? Do you think maybe we're not paying enough? Do you think maybe we need to be more flexible on hours? Or you mentioned that we may be looking for too much of a higher skill set. Should we open that up a bit? Because you know what that is? That's a consultant, right? You're consulting now with your client. You're saying, listen, what we were working on, I can't find it. I don't know whether it's me. How are your other agencies getting on with this? Oh, okay, fine. So we're all struggling with it, right? Okay. And while they're all maybe coming back going, you're not paying enough, or you're being too strict on your requirements, you're going, can we figure this out together? Can we actually sit down and go, well, what are we doing here? How do I get, because I want to fill this job. Of course I do. So how do I do that with you? That's what it takes to be a trusted advisor. Actually building trust by being honest. That's what I think anyway. But yeah, I'd love to know if there's any questions and stuff. I've rattled through this, but I'm hoping there was some value there.
Yeah, Nathan, that was amazing. We actually had like a lot of people, commenting and asking questions. So, guys, now we'll have a quick Q&A. If anybody has any questions for Nathan, based on what you heard today, now's the time to ask that in the chat on the LinkedIn Live. And yeah, Nathan will answer these questions. So yeah, we'll just wait for a couple of seconds to see if anybody has any
Yeah,
questions.
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew, you're absolutely right. Yeah, chunky content. I love Mike Ames. I've had him on the podcast a couple of times. Love him. He's bang on. Absolutely. Karen, very inclusive in networking. So yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it. Play to your strengths, right? Not everybody in recruitment right now is a salesperson. But for some reason, we've got leaders that are looking for or pushing for salespeople. And it's not a sales business, it's a professional service, like it or not.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, until people ask questions, and then I actually have a question for you.
True.
So from your experience, what are some common mistakes that recruiters make when trying to build their personal brand on social media or any platform, and how can they avoid these mistakes?
They get well, from what I've seen, people seem to get confused between being an influencer and actually building your personal brand. Um, you're not trying to be an influencer. You're not trying to be a guru. The worst thing I see recruiters do, and funnily enough, I had this conversation earlier on a podcast I did. Um, when when recruiters are using LinkedIn and posting on LinkedIn, talking to other recruiters about how to be better recruiters, that boggles my mind. That that doesn't make sense, right? You know, if you're a recruiter in life sciences and that's your niche, talk about life sciences. Give your candidates tips on how to apply for jobs or be like visible to the people that they want to see, be seen by, or post content for talent acquisition leaders and HR managers and or line managers of research that you found or things that you find interesting. You don't need to be telling other recruiters why you're so good at what you do, and therefore this is what recruiters, you need to be doing this and blah blah blah, and this is how I do things. I see a lot of that. And what that basically says to me is that these are the same people who will then sit in front of a client after working really hard to get that client meeting and spend their entire time talking about the competitor. If I went to buy and I use car analogies all the time, but it applies in any scenario. But if I go to buy a Mercedes and my salesperson is telling me we're better than Audi and BMW, well, of course you are. Like, I don't need to know that. I need to know about this. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I see is exactly that recruiters start going down the influencer route and trying to be gurus and thinking that that's the way. It's not the way. Some of the best recruiters I know talk to and only talk to their audience, which is they're made up of their niche clients and candidates.
All right. I think that's all the questions we have today, Nitin. So just as a final takeaway before we wrap up, what's one thing you wish every recruiter knew about personal branding that would help them immediately improve their online presence? And just like a final takeaway before we wrap up.
Personal branding is not a 5 grand course. Personal branding is not a £500 a month subscription. Personal branding is free, as in your LinkedIn, your social media, your ability to talk about what you know, what you do on a daily basis is free. So start there. Every day you speak to clients and candidates, and every day something interesting is happening. You're just so busy doing the do that you don't put your head out the parapet to think, hey, there's marketing here, there's content here, there's ways I could use this to access a wider community and bring people into my community. Focus that. Don't look at all of this noise around jumping on courses and playbooks, and that's all nonsense. They're trying to sell you things that you already actually know. You just need to do it.
All right, awesome. We actually have one more question that we've
Yep.
received by James. He's asking, what advice have you got for people who want to build their brand online but are camera shy?
Just do it. As stupid as it sounds, I'm camera shy. Believe it or not, I have a podcast now and all that sort of stuff, but I don't take selfies. I still struggle to take selfies. I don't like the way I look on camera. And well, I'm very very conscious of that sort of stuff. But the reality is that whether you like it or not, the rest of the world, the majority of the world have eyes and they see you every day, and you know that's what you look like, man. This is what the good Lord gave us. Just go with it. It what are you shy about? Are you shy about the way you look, which is what it was for me, or are you shy about looking stupid, maybe, or feeling like you'll be judged? The fact of the matter is that, like, look, those who are going to judge you are going to judge you anyway. There's far more people out there that will see value in what you've got to say than won't. One of the things I hear a lot is actually like friendship groups and friendship circles, and they'll start taking the mick out of me and that kind of thing. I had that, man. I started a podcast. How do you think my group chat was? And how many clips do you think they were taken out of that? And I stutter every now and then, and I had a family member cut the stutter out and then loop it, and it was just do 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 do. And what is it happens, it happened. But you know what? Like, that's just the way it is. You've got to move past it. You've got to think about what your goal here is. So, camera shy or not, just get in front. Whatever you do, you will add value to somebody, and that's what it's about. It's not about being the next, influencer star. It's about getting somebody who you want to either do business with or place into a job, look at you and go, huh, this person's interesting. That's it.
All right, I couldn't agree more. I think it's all about like getting out of your comfort zone and just putting yourself out there. So, yeah, that was amazing, Nathan. I think that's all the questions we have today, and that brings us to the end of this session. So, Nathan, thank you so much for
Thank you.
spending some time here and sharing all of those tips with everybody. So, yeah, thank you so much for all the attendees.
Thank you.
For joining and participating. And we've dropped a couple of links in the chat for everybody to engage with. You can connect with Nitin on LinkedIn. You can also check out his websites. All the links are right now in the chat. If you're interested to learn more about Recruit CRM, we've also dropped a couple of links like to book a demo and sign up for a free trial, and also check out the website. So you can check out those as well. We also have an annual recruitment survey right now that's live. So in case you're interested in participating, you can check out the link in the chat right now, and you get 3 recruitment ebooks if you fill this out. And yeah, we have social media platforms as well, so you can connect with us on those platforms and stay up to date on the upcoming LinkedIn lives. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you so much, Nitin. This was amazing.
Lovely. No, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All
Cheers,
right.
guys.